Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is a presentation both to my networks at the regulation and governance email list and to the Ma'avarim group. Ma'avarim is about professional development of the Israeli PhD community. And today I'm going to speak about journal publication. Most of you know me. I will just say my name is Professor, shortly and briefly, Professor David Levi-Faur from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Political Science and Public Policy. So this lecture is about publishing academic papers. What to do before, during, and after journal submission. Let me start with that I'm drawing in my in this presentation on advice that I got from good colleagues during the my own. I was young sometimes, I still feel young, but I was younger physically, biologically, and also I'm drawing on the presentations and that. Of a good colleague of mine, Professor Bertolt Rittberger, who is from the LMU and is also the editor of the Journal of European Public Policy. 4 parts to this presentation. I will show you the parts so you can have also the ability to read. So this is the presentation, and those are the parts of the presentation. Okay? Before you submit, choosing a journal, during the review process, and dealing with revisions. Those are the 4 parts of the presentation. So during the writing, choosing a journal, during a review process, and dealing with revisions. I will also say that what I'm saying here is based on my experience, which means publishing about 100 papers or chapters. Also, unfortunately, about 100 rejections of all types. And most importantly, probably, is 15 years of experience as editing of a top journal, social science, regulation, governance, law journal. And you should know that the presentation is very social science. It's based on my, if you want to go even narrow, political science or public policy or regulation. But what I'm doing here is trying to expand, but sometimes it will need adaptation and it will not be accurate for people from the humanities, mainly. Okay, so take my words with this caveat, okay? Be careful, be aware. Again, the structure, and then I go. Before I go, any questions, or do you see me well now? Do you hear me well now? Any questions? You can always write on the chat, okay? No questions. Okay. I see there is no focus. I'm probably too close to the camera. Maybe now? Okay, let's see. The camera is focused. So first advice, before you submit, during the writing, develop a sense of who is the audience of the paper and of the research more generally. So when you write the paper, think about the audience. And audience is also community, but also the journal or journals that you want to publish in. When you know the journal, when you know the audience, you are in the middle of the community. You are in the middle of debate. You are in the middle or within a community. So find this community, identify the community. During the writing, don't wait to finish the paper to find your community or your journal. Okay? Now I see that the camera is still in problem of focus, but we'll have to stand with it. I don't know what to do. Second advice, look for a meaningful debate, okay? You are writing not because it's interesting or it's important. You are writing because there is a debate there. Vikuach, yeah? You are writing to a debate. There is side A and side B, and you are from side C. And you are going for the debate, for a conflict, contestation, because academic research, science is importantly moving and advancing on debate. What is the debate? What are the open questions? Who are in your camp? Who are not? Who are the people who are not? Who is wrong? Who is right in the literature? Okay. Advice number 3. Identify a colleague or a leader in your field and analyze and follow her or his publication fast. Okay. So Yossi is 5 years ahead of me, or Yeshayahu is the leader in the field. How did he publish? Which journal first? Which second? Why first this journal? Why second the other journal? Which kind of career publication did he make? I had my own leader, somebody who I followed. He published in one journal, I went to this journal, then he published in the other journal, and I published there. So I had to find my community, and I found my community via identifying international scholars who were close to me. First advice, identify a brilliant writing style and improve that writing style that is better from the ones that is used in your field. So your field is full with writing styles, and there is maybe there is a common writing styles that you can identify. Try to see who writes best, especially if you are humanities or social science, when writing is important part of the job, of the paper. This means that you should analyze different papers and styles of writing, and within time even go between different disciplines. So how different discipline writes, present ideas, and so on. So this is my recommendation, my first recommendation. Questions until now? Now, I don't show the presentation for now because I will show it later on, and we will have it afterwards. But for now, I don't want to show the presentation. Anyone with a question, suggestion, or should I go? Continue. Don't hesitate. If no one wants to ask a question, I will go on. And I go to the point number 5. When you write your paper, make one contribution, a major contribution in one paper. Save the other contribution to another paper. Too many contributions means that you don't have a focus, like my camera, okay? It goes on and on, okay? Try to have a focus, one contribution, make it clear, make sure that the contributions speak to an audience. What do I mean? That there will be enough audience who will be interested in what you are writing. So you are not writing about Tel Aviv, okay? Tel Aviv is very important, but what you want to do in your paper is not to write about Tel Aviv, but Tel Aviv as a case study, yeah, for something, okay? For a diverse city, a successful city, a failed city, but you are writing to an audience which can cite you. This means you have an impact, right? We are looking for papers who speaks to large audience in your field. So this audience will cite you and will determine your success in the field. Now, don't publish the same contribution many times. You can use one project to do 3, 4, 2 presentations, 2 papers, but don't repeat yourself. If you need to repeat yourself, acknowledge the repetition. Okay? But my general advice is you have a project, you don't start a project without having about 3 papers coming out of it, because number of papers count, and you want to be productive. This is part of the game, yeah, of the rules of the game. You have to be productive. You have to publish good stuff, yeah, quality, but quantity also speaks. And really, in the social sciences, quantity also allows you to improve yourself in time. You start with a lesser journal and a lesser papers, and you move on to better and better papers. Now, advice number 6. Think big. How am I going to change the subject? How do I going to change the discipline? Okay? Think big, but not too big. Adjust the bigness or the ambition to your stage of career, right? So think big should be also in connection to where you are and where your colleagues are. Also assess your advance and your contribution vis-a-vis other people in your stage, or senior people, what did they do in your stage? Okay, so this is about, so far it's about preparing yourself to write a paper. You're writing the paper, you know what you want to say, you think big, now choosing a journal. And now I will use the presentation again, also because the camera is not focused. So let me put the presentation again. And I'm saying again, you can have it later on. And I'm writing, I'm moving, let me increase that. Yeah. Is it all on the screen? On the screen, do you see it right, correctly?
Yes, it is okay.
Excellent. So second part of the lecture, choosing a journal, okay? How to choose a journal? Identify the journals where your supervisor, mentor, had published. Analyze them. Why those journals? Why in this stage of career, of his or her career? So one way to go is to go after your career path of the supervisor, the mentor. But now let's say that you are not sure about it, and you move to a slightly different career, and a long time passed since he started his career, and so on. So what you do is really check which journals you are citing more often, which journals you are citing for the last years, and go for there. And then check, are they prestigious? Are they professional? I will speak about it in a minute, and so on, and then go for them. So to send a paper to a journal without really knowing who are the editors, which papers they publish, or without really engaging with the debates in this journal, it's really, I think, no, okay? You are part of a community. So even if you start the choice of a journal very early, as soon as possible, and then do those checks. Did my mentor publish there? Am I citing those papers? And if I am not, why not? Probably it's not the same journal. Maybe I'm belonging to a different community. Okay? So this is one. Next advice, 9, make sure that you submit to a journal where your article structure style fits the journal. Know the field, know why journals are using different styles. They are more to the legal style or more to this empirical quantitative style, more comparative style or more qualitative style. Understand where you go. What is the publishing environment, the journal environment where you are located. So this means that you are really explorer. You're really, if you are starting your career, analyze different journals and learn which styles they are using and who are the people, you know. It's not that you choose a journal when you finish the paper. Start early, identify a group of journals that fits you. Okay. 10th point 10. Now, you don't want to send your paper to a journal that you don't know nothing about it, on the time of length that it takes until the first round of reviews, how many papers they get, and so on. So I advise you to ask the editor, what is the time, what is the average, mode, median time for submissions? I would advise you at the same time, ask if your paper, you can send the abstracts, ask if it fits the journal agenda. See how long does it take to the editor to answer. If it takes too long, maybe you don't want to send the paper there. But sometimes, you know, you have to assess and to manage uncertainty in those relations. And it's also always one journal vis-a-vis another journal. So you never end up in a situation when you have only one journal to choose from. Questions? Any question? If not, after you submitted, don't hesitate to follow the submission with a personal email to the editor. You want him or her to remember you, because sometimes they receive more than one paper a day, okay? Hundreds a year. And you want to edit to the editor to give you a personal, you know, preference. You don't want them to forget you. There are so many issues and people and papers on the journal table. The editors are very easy. So nudges from time to time, not too soon, are really useful. So I advise, don't be shy, don't hesitate to write to the editor. I see there is a chat question here, just a minute. I don't see it, okay. So Bar is asking, Bar, do you want to ask yourself instead of me reading your question?
Sure, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, but I need some rest, so
Okay.
observation is welcome, and I will close the share, and I will give you the possibility to ask. So please.
Okay, hi everyone. So I have a paper that I wrote, and then I saw that there is a call for paper for a journal that seems to be relevant to me. And I want to submit it to this journal, but the deadline is far away. It's in the mid of September. But my article, my paper is ready. So is it okay to submit it early now, or should I wait until closer to the deadline to submit it?
Excellent question. First thing before, if I were you, I would ask my editor, should I submit there or submit, not editor, mentor, supervisor. How should I go? A student he says, or she says, okay, I would ask the editor the question. Because what do you want from the journal? You want a note of acceptance. When it's accepted, you can put it on your CV. You can put it as on your CV as under review or revise and resubmit. But eventually, you want it accepted and on your CV. You don't really care if it's published or not and how soon. It has to be on your CV. So this is the medal, the acceptance. And then there is a question, what is your time frame? Okay. What do I mean by time frame? Is there a fellowship, or is there a job, or is there a postdoc that you need a paper very soon? If not, you can wait. This is allows me the time, the strategy with the time. Can I withdraw a paper that is too long in the editorial process? Of course you can do it, but if you need acceptance or revise and resubmit soon, and because you have a fellowship application and so on, maybe not. If it's a very important journal, maybe not. Again, ask your supervisor or mentors or Vada Melava, the network of people around you. So this is my answer to you, to Bar. I hope I gave you the answer. Anyone else with a question? If not, I'm going to continue with the presentation.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you very much, Bar. So let me share the screen again. And go to the next advice. Don't be shy, yeah? Remember, personal email, not every week, but every month is absolutely okay. 12, don't publish in a second-rate journal unless you have good reasons. What are good reasons? Your field is very competitive, and the way your field works is that a lot of experience is needed. It's not mathematics when you are a professor at the age of 30, yeah? In social science, especially part of the social science, especially humanities, it takes time to build quality and to prepare yourself. So think about it. But even if you decide to publish in a second-rate journal, know why you are doing it in terms of career and the quality of your work. And anyway, always improve the journals that you are publishing it. There is no point in publishing in a second-rate journal and then going to third-rate journal. If you publish in a second-rate journal, we are expecting you to improve. Again, aim high unless you have good reasons. This is the same advice as the first point in this slide. You do want to be ready for the next stage in your career, fellowship and so on, with you know, having something in the second rate might be good, depending on this discipline, institution, and so on, than not having anything at all. Okay? Now I'm speaking from a third point here. You know, the same is about book chapters. Publish them if you have good reasons to be part of a group, to belong, if it's a very prestigious book, edited volume, something that you cannot say no for some reason. And you can publish if you are in the chapters in your prolific writer, you know, if it's easy for you to publish. But best in this world, in the social sciences, and, you know, most of the sciences, to publish refereed articles, anonymous refereed articles. Okay? We move forward. Choose general interest journals over specialized journals. What do I mean? It's better to publish in an American Political Science Review than in the Regulation and Governance, or Asian Studies, or Korean Studies, or Israeli Studies. Why? Prestige, competition. You are publishing in journals to get the reputation from the journal, yeah? And the attention. Because nowadays you can put everything on the internet, so why publish in a journal? It's a reputation issue, okay? It's not a publication, it's not a paper issue. Journals, editors and journals do not give us so much as proof and editing. They give us reviews, they give us the ability to improve ourselves, and they give us the reputation. Okay? So choose general interest over specialized journals. Now, let's say you are not sure that your paper fits a journal, whatever a journal. Look at your bibliography. This is the point that I make. Do I cite this journal? Probably fit. Is it a journal that you regularly read and cite in other papers? Maybe it fits, but you need to see how you've, you know, manage the paper, the specific paper, and change your bibliography if this is the case. You are not sure which journal to go? Ask your mentor, ask experienced colleague, ask the editor. Don't hesitate to communicate with editors. They are human beings, yeah? This means that they have all the weaknesses and strengths. You are not afraid from the editor. He's professional gatekeeper. He has a job there, a role there, okay? The editor knows that he is committed to you. There is a commitment to the authors, okay? So don't be afraid from editors. 15, make sure to understand journal ranking in your field. This ranking issue, quarter 1, quarter 2, impact factor. I will not go to this now, but make sure that you know Jerusalem ranking and so on. So make sure to know them, and this is a really very easy way to go. You don't, you know, just Google it. 16, always submit a clean and well-edited manuscript. Make sure it's edited, especially if it's even if it's your own, you know, own language, mother tongue. You know, you may want to make sure that the manuscript is well edited. Work especially on your abstract, title, invest time in the introduction and conclusions. Why? Those are the gates to your paper. The editor will get the paper, and this is where he will look first. Okay? He will go for the abstract. Interesting, not interesting. Professional, not professional. And then if the answer is no, the paper will go to what we call desk reject. What is desk reject? In a minute, but let me say, the editors is the gatekeeper. Before sending the review, he will not send every paper to review. He doesn't or she doesn't have enough reviewer for that. Not all papers have the chance to be published. So desk reject is rejection by the editor at the fourth stage without even going to review. Mainly, this is an issue of no fit between the journal agenda and the paper. And people do not really understanding the set mind of the editor. What does editor want? Now, question for you. Discussion. What are editors are looking for? What do you say?
New ideas.
New ideas. Yeah, maybe more.
מאמר שיקראו הרבה.
What's that?
מאמר שהרבה אנשים יקראו, ויהיה מצוטט הרבה.
A paper with an impact. New ideas and impact. Ideally, paper that is well written, easy to pass in the review process, new ideas, but most important, the impact of the paper, papers that will be cited. Why? Why do they care about impact? Why do editors care about impact? What do you say?
This is impact the ranking of the journal.
Yeah. Do you want to explain who was that?
Raifa.
Raifa, where are you, Raifa? Well, let's put you in the spotlight, if you allow. Where is Raifa? I don't find you.
Raifa Jabarin.
What's that?
Raifa Jabarin.
Okay, but without the video, tell us why journal editors care about impact.
I think more citation is upgraded the ranking of the journal.
Excellent. So number of citations are the regulators. This is the regulatory mechanism on editors. This is the accountability issues. Every year, impact factor is being published. It's going to be today or the day after, you know, the impact factor for the last year. And all editors are very, very tense. I'm waiting to my journal impact factor for the next year. If I'm up or down, high or low. So what we are looking for is also papers that will be cited. Because this is the reputation of the journal, of the editors, and the community around the journal. So paper on Tel Aviv will not be high impact. And it will be probably desk rejected by a social science research. So it's not about Tel Aviv, but if Tel Aviv is a case study, this is something else. Okay? So, yeah, got me. Now I have questions here from Yosef Gal, or Yossi Gal from Haifa. And Yossi asked, can I submit abstract to several journals at the same time? So the answer is, you don't submit a journal, you don't submit an article, or you don't submit an abstract, you don't submit an abstract, you are starting a communication with the editor around an abstract. And you can do it with 3-4 editors. You know, asking if this abstract fits doesn't constitute commitment from you. But this is not the case if you are writing to a journal editor in Israel or somebody who knows you. When they know you or they expect the paper after you wrote to them, you don't want to be in a position that you disappoint somebody. You can disappoint somebody, but then you should explain why you didn't submit eventually to this journal. So communication with the editor via, sending an abstract, editors do not like it. I don't like to get those questions. Does it fit or not? But I have to answer. I do have to answer. Okay, going back to the slides, but Efrat Davidov have a question. So she wants me to deal with the ranking. And in philosophy of education, she didn't find anything. Anyone knows why she didn't find ranking in philosophy of education? So Efrat wants to know what's the ranking in our field. And my answer, because nobody is willing to answer, the answer is as follows. What Efrat needs to do is to look to define their field. And their narrow field is philosophy of education. But their discipline is either education or philosophy. And the ranking should be there. So ranking is per discipline usually. Now it may be the case that there are 2 journals or 3 journals in philosophy of education, maybe 10, maybe 5, but I don't believe that there are serious number of journals in philosophy of, or big number of journals in philosophy of education. So what do we do in this case? We look and define our discipline, and we know which journals are dealing with philosophy of education and where they are ranked in education. And they will be ranked differently in education and philosophy. Might be higher in education in this case than in philosophy, because it's practical. Philosophy of education, it sounds too practical. But, and then Efrat finds about 3-4 journals on philosophy of education. How do she find them? They are being cited in her paper. And I would guess that the older journal, the American journal, would be probably ranked higher than, other countries. Perhaps more than journals that are called International Journal of Philosophy of Education. So the Americans, the British journals are usually older, more established, with prestigious editorial board, and the prestige of the editor and the journal goes with it, and not only the impact factor. Okay, so let's say John Rawls published my paper. Who cares about the impact factor if John Rawls, he can't at the moment, if John Rawls published my paper? Okay, so look at the editor. And now Nat Klafter has a follow-up question, so please go on.
Hi, so the issue of ranking. So
yeah.
My field is, I guess, is broader, it's medieval history. But there isn't really a list of journals. I have to go journal by journal. And then supposedly rumor has it that there are these lists, because when I go to apply for anything, the number of medievalists that would be sitting on any committee might be very small, between 1 to 0 maybe. So how do I know how to choose the journal that would help me in those situations? I mean, I know the journals that I read and I quote and I would like to be in, but thinking sort of on the other side of the committees to which I need to submit my CV, how can I know what they would think would be a high-ranking journal? So, and these things also change all the time. It could be the year I submitted, it's high, and then 2 years later, it's Q3.
Yeah, journal, surprisingly enough, journals do not move so quickly in the ranking when we are speaking about mathematics. But think about the people or in the committee. Where did they publish? Look at find your role model. Now, you don't know who is in your committee, but you know who are the leaders in medieval history and where did they publish.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying that my committees would probably not necessarily have any medievalists on them. Like, definitely, if I'm looking in Israel, generally not all departments have medievalists.
Yeah. So
sadly.
Sure. So they will look at prestige of the journal and will go, for example, better to the American historical annals. I don't know if there is a paper like this or a journal like this, but think about the annals of the American Academy of History, Historical Academy. So this is a general historical journal, and I would guess it will be better to have in this journal as well as in the best journal in medieval history, and I know you know which is the one who is considered the best. You know, and they know. Yeah. They should know, and you can also write in the CV in brackets near the paper. This journal is considered the best in the field, or one of the or top journal in the field. Okay. So you can. We in the social sciences, we have the numbers. We put when we go for promotion or grant or fellowship, we will put the paper, the citation, but we also put the impact factor of the journal. Now, this is not the case in humanities, so you can do something similar to that. And but your problem, my field is not well established in Israel. I can see the logic and the problem. I can see the problem. Okay.
Can I just a follow-up question? So you mentioned, let's say you named the specific editor by name, but going back to say edited collections, so not journals. If let's say that specific edited collection has very, very well thought of scholars in the field, and you do want to be part of that committee, that community, would that make sense to publish there?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Your success depends on the community. The larger, the smallest, you have to be part of the community to be accepted as a serious person within this community. A serious person meaning that you are equal to some extent to them, and you have to build the community. If you don't have it naturally around you because you have a mentor wrote here and so on, and it placed you in the community, you have to build it yourself.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go to the slides. Share the screen. Okay, so here we go. Okay, you send the paper to a journal. Now there is a review process. What do I do? First of all, expect desk reject. Don't get upset by desk reject or by rejection more generally. Most papers, or half of the papers, depends on the journal, would not be reviewed at all because they do not meet, usually because they don't meet the expectation or the agenda of the journal. I will not publish in my journal something that will not be read or relates to the community where I work or be part of. So this is the most common issue. Then there is an issue of limited space of the journal. Then there is the issue of the quality of the paper. The abstract, the introduction, something is not there. It's not edited well, has some problems. I will not write and will not go to details with the author unless I know him, why I just rejected him or her. I will just use the templates that I have on the Manuscript Central or the Open Scholar software, and will send the paper desk reject. For this reason, have a plan B. Plan B and C and D. You should know, okay, where is the next journal? How long will it take me to change the journal style, to prepare to a new journal style, and so on. Be prepared. Now, the paper was reviewed and you were rejected. Now, the journal may reject 9 out of 10 papers, or 8, or even 9.5 of 8 of every 10 papers. And it happens to all of us, good and bad, Nobel laureates and beginners. So don't get it personally. Think what happened. Analyze the process and move on, okay? You are allowed to cry. You are allowed to get into depression, but you know, don't waste too long on getting depressed around it. Okay. Now you got the reports of the reviewers. What do? Read them carefully. Now, you cannot read the report carefully when you got them. You start to read them and you get one impression, wait 1 week, and you get another understanding of what's going on here. So what I say is that the reports of the reviewers are really so emotionally invested by the author that the reading really needs to be over time, again and again, even if they are not so critical. It's hard to get them. So you need time between reading the reports and answering and so on. Okay? Don't hesitate to take advice, to share them with colleagues, the reports, even if they are very critical. Be strong. This is part of the game. Being in academia, you are getting a lot of criticism. This is the criticism about the paper, not about you. Even if sometimes the reviewers, it may be rude or hostile or stupid. This happens, but it reflects on the reviewer and not about you. Now, revise and resubmit, R&R, what is we call. It's a big deal. The game is on. It's very, very important for you. This is one step ahead, and really in large share of the R&R, the revise and resubmit decision, the papers are really going to be accepted if you do the right thing. You are correcting them, revising them correctly. In my journal, we just send the R&R. We don't say this is R&R is minor or major R&R. Just read the report, the editorial guidance, and revise. Okay? Do the changes in a framework of time which is efficient. If they are minor, 1 month at most. If they are major, no more than 3 months. Sometimes the journal will give you deadline, but if you are not sure and you are going to delay it, ask the editors what to do. If it's okay to submit in 4 months' time, or 3 months' time, or 5 months' time. You need to explain the situation to the editor and to be sure that this is the case. Okay? Next point. you got the revision, you are doing the revision. What counts also, and you have to invest a lot of time, is in the revision letter or the memo. You need to write a careful revision letter or revision or memo where you are answering each point of the reviewers, including the good points around it. Okay? So this is key. You are copying the reviewers' reports, you are breaking them to paragraph or points, and you answer every point in a table format or not table format, but in a clear format, because this will be read by the editor and the reviewer and will determine the acceptance of the journal, of the future of the paper, and your might also your future. Now, I see that two people raised their hand. Who wants to start? Who wanted to ask?
I start.
Okay. Please.
How can I decide if to write the paper individual or with other co-writers if I have a suggestion to write with other people? And the next question is whether it's always important whose name is the first one and who's the second one.
Okay. So co-written paper. This is really a question about career considerations. And it involves both relations, group building, community building with your co-authors. They might be very important people in your career for the future, co-authorship. This might be the mentor or not, the supervisor or not. This is a different question, but it's also a question is how the committee will evaluate your contribution in the future when you apply for a grant, fellowship, a job, or promotion. And the answer is, it also depends on your field. How common is it in my field to publish together? This is one consideration. Your legal studies, right, Maram? So it's not that common. It's a solo game usually, but sometimes it is, and things are changing. So it's a question of what are your goals? What do you want next when this paper will be on your CV? You want a job? Will it, help or not help the job, and so on? Is this common writing, co-writing, delay substantially your PhD? Or maybe this co-writing is really pushing you forward, meaning that you are learning and collaborating with a serious scholar, more senior, a lot of prestige, and so on. That's very important. Now, if you are writing a paper from your PhD, or if you are writing a paper, you are the major contributor for the paper, you should be first, my understanding. You should be the first, even if you are not the most senior. So this is my short answer. Writing together is good in principle, but not when it interfere or hinder your career chances. It rarely does. But when you are a PhD student, you have to write your PhD and to finish it, or to be ready. But your supervisor will help you to think about it. He will know the details. He will know the scholars. He will know how to appreciate where you stand with your research proposal or your final manuscript. So that's my answer. More questions? So there was another question there. Let me say that I will send the video and the slides, not only in Ma'avarim group, but also in the regulation email list. So that's one question to Muhammad in New York. More questions? If not, I'm going on. I'm moving on with the slides. You can raise your hands again, and also write. Okay. Sorry. Here we are again with the slides. So you write a careful revision letter, memo, and it will go out to reviewers with the revised version. And you write a very polite answer to any comment. This doesn't mean that you have to accept all comments. It means that you have to be polite and reasonable. If you don't accept the criticism, write, answer, reason with the reviewers, and so on. If you think that the reviewers is highly unreasonable, mention it in a different email or a personal way to the editor. Raise the flag. Now ask your mentor or peers to read the memo. It's very, very important. Read the memo. Next point. And actually the end of the presentation. We want to publish, but we also want to publish steadily. Keep a steady pace of publication every year. You don't publish 5 papers in 1 year and you don't do anything in the second year or the third year. Progress from good journals to excellent journals, okay? Jump on opportunities to publish with good journals and good group of scholars. Take advice from the right people, okay? Now, questions and answers, I'm with you. So it's this section really depends on your question, on your participation. I did my job. Let me stop the sharing, and I am here with you. Who wants to start?
I could raise a question. It's Ulf Harmfuss from Germany. Hello. Thank you very much in advance for this great exchange opportunity. If you have contradictions between the reviewers, this typical thing, you in an editor position, if you have two contradicting reviews, what is your preferred behavior by the authors? Should they contact you? What would you expect in general? Would you expect a suggestion of the author, or what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so excellent question. So I'm the editor, and I have so many things to do, and I have 2 conflicting reports. So I can solve the reports and give you guidance, or I can send you the 2 reports or the 3 reports and ask you to respond. Okay? And I will judge according to your response. If I gave you the opportunity to revise and resubmit, it means that I trust you to be able to come up with a good paper eventually. Maybe not in the second round, but the third round. Yeah. But I trust you to answer. Now, if you don't know how to deal with this issue, write, this is why I don't know. You can respond directly to the reviewer, and you can also ask the editor what to do, or you can alert him to what you did. So it's all about communication, and it's all about the sharing the workload. Who will solve the contradiction? The editor himself or herself alone, or first we will give to the author the opportunity to react. Did you get me, Ulf?
Yeah, very understandable. I got a good impression. Yeah, thank you very much.
Welcome. So now we have a question from Sharona and Kadit. Who wants to come on and ask? Sharona, please. But you have to unmute yourself. I will unmute you.
Yes, good point. Sorry. I'm trying to avoid noises at home with the kids. So I'm asking about artificial intelligence because there's so many journals and more and more papers that are being submitted. And I wanted to know if there's any talking about using artificial intelligence in the review process, because I would think that it would also have an impact on the way we have to write our papers to even stand out more.
This is the first time I hear about this idea. I didn't hear it before. And I think what will happen in our field, social science, law, and so on, there are two major publishers and platforms of reviewers: Manuscript Central. This is where you upload your paper, and Scholar One. And if there is AI help, it will be via those platforms. And this will go to all journals. But at the moment, it's not there, as much as I know. And also the way they help with reviewer search and plagiarism, we are not there. We are not there. But if you hear about something, I would be interested to know.
I think that I heard something a little bit from more in sciences, actually. But I would think that in social sciences it's a little more complex, which is fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Sharona. And anyone else? Kadid, do you want to ask yourself?
Okay. Hi, everyone. What I was wondering is which is better, publishing in an academic journal that has an academic mother or whatever you want to call it, or publishing in a professional journal that is the Gilda's main journal, or I don't know if I'm being clear enough.
Yeah, I think what you are meaning is, to me, there are journals who are part of the association, and there are commercial. No.
I come from the field of education. So I can have journals that with language acquisition, journals that are based on academic research and academic researchers. And there are also journals that are for teachers, by teachers, connected to the field.
Yeah.
Which are also research-based, but usually action research.
Yeah.
So what's better?
What's better for what? For academic journalists, go for academic. If you want to have influence, direct, immediate influence, maybe the teacher-oriented or the profession.
That's exactly my problem. Like, should I aim at influencing, or should I aim at the career thing. I don't know. But you're
You
saying
have
it's
to
my
choose.
problem.
You have to
Okay.
choose what you want to be when you are
Grown up.
older. You know, go to the Ministry of Education, for example, or go for academia. If you want to academia, publish in academic journals.
There is no overlap?
I don't think there is an overlap, not a major overlap between academia is going theoretically, and the distance is not narrowing between academia and the fields.
Okay, thank you.
So there is a question from David Berliner. Is it useful to publish in papers in non-academic journals? Useful for, the answer is useful to whom? Is it useful for you? It depends what you want, how you define usefulness. Do you want to be useful in the field, you know, being public intellectual, or do you want to be academic research? And you can do both, but only if you are prolific, somebody is paying your salary, and you have established position, something like this. David, is it okay? David, do you want to add, or did I answer your question?
Yes, it's okay. I wanted to ask. I know it's less than an academic journal, but I asked if the influence, or if I come to the academic with the name or with the public influence, because I papered in places that are written by politics or so on, if it's also can help me in the academia. I know it's not like a professional journal, academic journal, but if it's mean anything, that's where
I would say yes, it's positive to have a public profile, but it also depends on the type of profile, how controversial is the profile. For example, it may, you know, create some contestation, or, you know, people will not like you because what you are saying in public. This might happen. And also beware of envy. Envy is very important aspect of life in academia, and people are envious. So, you know, adapt your career, build your career following signals from your environment. Understand your environment, get advice from others. This is very important. So you have to have mentors. Excellent. More questions? More questions from the audience?
Can I ask?
Sure.
I wanted to ask about the revise and resubmit process. So I was sent 2 reviewers' letters and then also a summary from the editor. Should I just address what the editor, or just primarily focus on what the editor had sent and asked me to focus on, or all 3 of them? And what should I put more emphasis on?
You should answer all, I think, all of 3 of them, starting with the reviewers and finishing with the editorial guidance, and give same attention to all. What counts is the nature of the answer, not the length, but don't be too short. One page or 1 line. Too many 1 lines answers are, you know, I would feel uneasy. But it also depends on the type of the comments. If they said, you know, you have to change, you have a spelling mistake, you don't have to write a paragraph to answer, I corrected, thank you very much. Yeah. And
let's say if a considerable length of time, like months, have passed since I received it, and I haven't actually contacted them yet because I had other things that I had to do. Do I need to first write a letter to the editor saying I want to resubmit, or do I just resubmit?
Invited you, or she invited you to resubmit, so
yeah,
resubmit.
Just resubmit
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But you know, write a one-liner, two-liners, nice email to the editor, just to keep the personal touch, so the paper will not be lost in the review process.
Okay, thank you.
Now we have a question from K. Wagner Kretschuk. Do you want to ask personally, or should?
Sure, I can. Thank you very much. The name is Kristen, by the way. So I was wondering, because I guess it's the same for all of us, that we can't meet personally right now, or haven't been able to for several months now. So how important is it for you as an editor to meet authors, possible authors that would want to publish in your paper? And if it's important for you, how can we compensate? Like, do I have to write more emails, contact you more? Like, how do you get into contact with people?
So thank you for the question. Happy to answer. So I think for me, it's not important to know you at the moment, because you're probably young and you're PhD students or postdoc. And we have so many papers coming in, but I think it's important for you personally to be in touch and to know the people, that they will know about your work. It's this kind of, so personal contacts mean something. It doesn't mean that you will be accepted, but you will get the advice. You know, sometimes it's one word, two words that helps you immensely in the decision to send the paper to a journal or not to send the paper to a journal, or to make sure that it's not delayed. All those things count. And what you are doing now is very important in this way. So now I remember in the next 2 weeks your name. But if you write me an email and say, thank you, it was, you know, wonderful talk and so on, and tell me about what you are doing, I think this is the way to go. I'm not speaking about myself personally, I'm speaking how to build a network. You want to be part of a network. You want the people to know what you are doing. It helps. Okay?
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Can I also have an...
Yes, please.
I wanted to ask another question, if I may, please. I submitted an article for an academic journal here in Israel a few years ago, after my master's, and they told me thank you, and we will review it and we will answer you. And it took them, they rejected my article, but it took them more than 18 months, more than a year and a half. And it delayed me very much, because I couldn't submit it to anyone else. And I wanted to ask if it's normal, and how can I deal with this situation?
You know, my understanding, it's a form of abuse.
It's what?
This is a form of abuse to hold the paper 18 months, or even a year, or even 6 months. It's a form of abuse. It's not professional, it's unacceptable. But what can we do? That's the issue. And what should we do given what happened? It's like sexual abuse. This is not the same, but it's a form of abuse. But we know it happens in humanities especially, and in humanities in Israel especially. So some important professor just you know, held it somewhere and didn't do anything for more than a year. And the journal should change his way. The editor should change the way it works. But it's if it's institutionalized and become a norm, you cannot do anything as a young scholar, or you are in a problem. That's the issue. So those fields with long delay in publications, long review process, something is wrong in the field, in the norms of the field. And people should be aware, and we should frame it as abuse in order to avoid those issues. Because what does it mean? It means that it's not only that they didn't publish your work, they didn't give you the respect that you deserve, and they didn't give you the opportunity to learn. That's the issue. And people are not speaking enough about those issues. Yes, Ulf, did you want to ask, or anyone else?
Yeah, I could raise my question regarding the letter to the editor. Your personal thoughts on that. Do you perceive it as helpful if the authors signal you a journey of the paper? So to write, okay, we were on these 4 or 5 conferences over the last two years, that you see, okay, there's a quality process already behind it. Maybe some signaling, okay, we received a best paper award on this or that journal. Is your personal opinion that is helpful, or you don't like this, honestly speaking?
Okay, honestly speaking. So honestly speaking, I'd like to know what's going on. And I'd like to know that the paper was rejected from somewhere else, and you did such and such changes. One way to communicate this information is the letter to the editor in the Manuscript Central submission platform. But another is to send this also as a personal email to the editor. Don't hesitate, do it as a personal editor, because I cannot guarantee that every time I will read the letter to the editor. It goes first to the administrator, he reviewed the paper, does it qualify, and so on, and then I get it. And then I will read briefly the paper and then send it. And the letter of the editors is usually boring. It doesn't bring a lot of information. So send it also with a personal email. I said yes, but also in a personal email in my case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very understandable. Yeah, thank you very much.
Welcome. Amit, do you want, okay, so personal question. For postdoc, is more important to start with publication in general disciplinary journal or in a specific subdiscipline of the journal? I think general, so the answer is best if you can publish in a general journals. But sometimes your career path and your personal development and the subject of the paper and the quality of the subfield journal is so that you may want to go to the subfield journal. This is fine. As long, remember, as long as the paper is good, so your reputation is not only from the journal, but also from the citation, and also people will read your papers in a good institutions. Usually they will read the paper and it should be good. So it's also about the quality of the paper. And then Irit asked a question. Shall we write to the editors that the paper was rejected by other journals? I would say this is a very tricky question or issue that you always face. So if you are an author and you send a rejected paper without changing anything in it to a different journal, it's most likely that the editor will fall, or it's likely that the editor will choose a reviewer, and the reviewer will tell him or her, this paper was also already rejected by myself. So in those cases, it's better to go and say it in advance. But maybe in other papers, or in other cases you don't want to disclose it. You don't have to disclose it. It's a matter of how you trust the other editor. Will they take it face value? Or it's also a question of how big is the field? What is the likelihood that it will fall again on the same reviewers? Sometimes it happens. And in those cases, it's better to come out clean before. In principle, rejection by another journal of a good paper, shouldn't be a problem. It raises eyebrows, but if you are you're saying to the editor, I revised the paper, or I believe in this paper, and I believe in this argument, I think you are coming out even better. But also it depends on so many variables, it's hard to say. Again, another question? That's all? If that's it, we'll stop here. Let me say thank you all for your attention. And I wish you a good evening and a good week, and see you again. Many of you I see quite often, a few times a week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.